A doomed swordsman rewinds fate before Murim's greatest demon can return. Spoilers ahead for this Korean manhwa recap. Mu-Geuk geometry comes from a future where raw martial power was not enough to save the people around him. The terrifying Mu-Geuk rose like a disaster, cut through Murim's strongest figures, and even defeated Kyeonma, Mu-Geuk's father. Instead of accepting that broken ending, Mu-Geuk turns to forbidden time-bending power and wakes in his own past. The mission is bigger than payback. He must grow earlier, read old relationships with wiser eyes, repair the bonds that once failed, and prepare his side before the blood tide reaches them again. The safe evidence for this stretch begins with a title about cleansing an alliance, but the actual panels are unavailable and the OCR gives no readable dialogue. That means the exact meeting, opponent, or decision cannot be identified. Still, the pressure fits Mu-Geuk's larger situation perfectly. A regressor cannot treat old alliances as harmless background, because he already knows how small weaknesses can become fatal when the future begins repeating itself. If an alliance needs to be cleansed, the problem is not just bad politics. It means Mu-Geuk may be standing before people who should be allies, yet might carry abuse of power, cowardice, or divided loyalty. His second life forces him to ask a brutal question. Who is worth saving before the coming disaster arrives, and who will become a crack in the shield? The next confirmed clue points toward a blooming sword demon, but without accessible panels, the identity, location, and outcome cannot be safely described. Even so, the phrase carries heavy weight inside this story. Mu-Geuk's entire return is haunted by the knowledge that a peerless swordsman will eventually appear and turn Murim's confidence into ash. So whenever the story hints at a demon tied to the sword, it does not feel like a random threat. It feels like the future reaching back toward him. Mu-Geuk's advantage is memory, but memory also makes him vulnerable to dread. He cannot wait until the enemy fully reveals himself. Every warning sign becomes a countdown, and every uncertain name might be connected to the catastrophe he came back to prevent. The following beat is linked to valuable partners, yet the missing images prevent us from naming who appears, what is offered, or whether a partnership is accepted. What remains safe is the role partnership plays in a regression story like this. Mu-Geuk may carry future knowledge, but he cannot rebuild Murim alone. He needs people strong enough to stand beside him and honest enough not to collapse when pressure comes. That is where the second life becomes more complicated than simple overpowered growth. Every possible ally has value, but every alliance also creates risk. A partner can become a sword at his side, a witness to his change, or a weakness enemies can strike. Mu-Geuk's real test is learning which connections deserve trust before the old future closes in again. The next safe title clue suggests a path of happiness, but the supplied evidence cannot confirm whose happiness is at stake or what scene creates it. That uncertainty matters, because happiness in Mu-Geuk's life is not simple comfort. He remembers a future shaped by defeat, loss, and overwhelming violence. A peaceful road could be a gift, but it could also be a distraction from the danger racing toward him. This is the emotional trap of regression. The past is full of chances to make things better, yet every warm moment comes with the fear that it might be stolen again. If Mu-Geuk chooses to protect happiness, he is also choosing to make himself more attached to the world he must save. That makes his mission sharper, but also more painful. The next clue suggests someone asking who will offer more, but the panels are missing, so the prize, bidder, location, and result are unknown. The safe dramatic meaning is escalation. When people start competing over value, they reveal what they desire most. In Murim, that desire might be status, loyalty, information, resources, or influence, but the evidence does not let us choose one. For Mu-Geuk, any rising price is more than a transaction. He has lived through the cost of wrong decisions. He knows a short-term gain can lead to a future weakness, and a small concession can become the first link in a chain of disaster. So the pressure is not about winning the highest bid. It is about understanding what everyone is really trying to buy. The next confirmed metadata points toward drinking together, but no visual sequence is available to show who shares the moment or what is discussed. Still, in a martial webtoon, drinking scenes often carry quiet danger. They lower the guard without lowering the stakes. People who refuse to show weakness in confrontation may reveal pride, regret, loyalty, or resentment when the atmosphere turns casual. For Mu-Geuk, even a cup shared in peace can become a test. He is not only listening to what people say. He is measuring whether the people around him resemble the ones from his ruined future, or whether his actions have already begun changing them. A relaxed gathering can become the beginning of trust, but it can also expose the next hidden fracture. The next title clue centers on family, and that word hits especially hard because Mu-Geuk's known backstory is tied to Kyeonma, his father, and the devastating defeat caused by Mu-Geuk. The missing panels prevent any safe claim about who appears or what is said, but the theme alone connects directly to the heart of the premise. Mu-Geuk is not simply returning to collect techniques and overpower enemies. He is returning to a life where old relationships still breathe, where people who were lost or broken may still be reachable. Family makes regression personal. It turns the future from a disaster report into something with faces, history, and guilt. If Mu-Geuk must confront family ties here, then his mission is no longer only strategic. It is emotional survival. The next safe clue suggests gifts, but the evidence does not show who gives them, who receives them, or what objects are involved. Because of that, no specific item or exchange should be invented. What can be said is that gifts in a Murim power structure rarely stay innocent. A gift can be kindness, but it can also be a test, a political signal, an apology, or a debt wrapped in ceremony. Mu-Geuk, carrying memories from a failed future, would understand that accepting something may bind him to consequences later. That makes even generosity tense. If people begin offering gifts, the real question is not just what changes hands. It is whether Mu-Geuk is being welcomed, measured, manipulated, or invited into a bond he cannot easily break. The following metadata points toward two demons and a father, but the absent panels make it impossible to identify who those demons are, whether the father is Kyeonma, or what confrontation occurs. That caution is important. The known premise already tells us that Mu-Geuk's father was connected to one of the greatest defeats in Murim's future, so any father-related pressure naturally feels dangerous. But without visuals, the safest reading is thematic rather than specific. Mu-Geuk is moving through a world where legendary strength, family legacy, and demonic reputation press against each other. The past he returned to is not clean. It is full of names and relationships that may become anchors or burdens. When demonhood and fatherhood appear together, the story's emotional weight tightens around inheritance. The latest covered beat is tied to conflict, but no panel evidence confirms who clashes, what starts the dispute, or how the scene resolves. So the ending cannot be framed as a particular duel, argument, betrayal, or victory. What can be safely carried forward is the escalation. Every prior clue has circled unstable bonds, alliances that may need cleansing, partners whose value must be judged, family wounds, gifts that may create debts, drinks that test trust, and demon shadows tied to the sword. Conflict is the natural result of that pressure. Mu-Geuk's second chance is not smoothing the timeline into an easier road. It is exposing hidden tensions earlier, while he still has a chance to answer them before the future's true disaster arrives. What makes the stretch tricky is also what makes the recap honest. The supplied chapter evidence repeatedly states that the panels were not accessible and the OCR had no readable text. So the safe takeaway is structural, not event by event. Mu-Geuk's regression arc appears to be entering a phase where power alone is not enough. The pressure points are social and emotional. Alliances, partners, family, gifts, reputation, and conflict. That is exactly where a time-return story can become stronger than a simple payback fantasy. A hero with memories can predict danger, but he still has to deal with people as they are now, not only as they were in the ruined future. We leave Mu-Geuk with conflict rising and the future still waiting to punish every wrong choice. Subscribe for the next manhwa recap, where Mu-Geuk's rewritten path continues once the panel evidence shows what truly breaks open next.